Greetings. Elder Blacklight here. We've been talking about JC, also known as Jesus the Christ. Not Jesus Christ. See, in those days, two things that wouldn't apply, two or three things that wouldn't apply to Jesus Christ. They didn't have last names. And the going language back then was Hebrew and Aramaic. In Hebrew, when you greet someone, you would say Shalom Aleichem. In Aramaic, which is the same early forms of Arabic and late forms of one of the Kemetic languages, you would say Assalamu Alaikum or Allah Assalamu Alaikum. And his name would have been named after, if he would have a last name, he would have been named after his father, or his pops, which would have been, strike the father part, he would have been named after his daddy, Baba. And he would have been named not even Jesus, because they didn't have J's back in those days. So his name would have been, another name would have been Isa Ben Yusuf, which means the son, Isa, the son of Joseph. And Jesus was telling his people, you can't legislate morality. Another word for Jesus is, another meaning for Jesus is justice. Another meaning for justice is righteousness. So you can't legislate morality. It's what y'all, the public, all over the planet, are trying to do. See, they spooked up, Jesus, made him a ghost, made him come back to life after death, and then float up in the sky, sit on the right hand of God. And they keep misinterpreting the scriptures, the Bible, as well as the Quran. But the Quran is more closer to reality than they kept the Quran more pure than the Bible. So that's why we're talking about JC. Last video we was talking about, how he told his men, to a couple of his boys, to his disciples. He had a crew, 12 disciples. Judas snitched on him, for some gold, and they was coming after him. The temple guards, three sets of armies was coming after Jesus. The temple guard, It was another one, I forgot the other one. And the Romans. And so he told his boys, he said, they're coming after me, get ready to do some battle, so go and sell your whatever you can and get some swords. So they only could come up with 2. So Jesus, he knew that wasn't enough. So he told his boys to chill with the swords. You know, if you live by the sword, you're going to die by the sword. So we got to live by the brain, by the mind. So I got a few little tricks up my sleeve. So, but by that time, one of them, I forget who it was, had sliced into one of the temple guards one ear, sliced his ear off. You know, and Jesus told me, "Nah, man, you know." In other words, too many. Not enough for us, and too many of them. So Jesus say, I'm gonna do an old switcheroo, a Machiavellian on you. So he did the Machiavellian. I believe he did the Machiavellian in the garden. You know, the scriptures ain't clear on that. But after they say they crucified him, it's clear that it wasn't him that they crucified, and that he was in disguise as a gardener. And they didn't get him. You know, they switched on him. There was a switching take place, and he was trying to convince his disciples and his girlfriend, or some say that wasn't his woman, but I think that was his woman, and Mary Magdalene, and he did that on her, and you know, trying to tell her, you know, I ain't dead. But then later on, he told his disciples that he wasn't dead. He said, you know, well, we get into that later on. But he was a revolutionary. He went against the system. That system exists today. That system, the Romans and the Jews are the #1 gangsters of today. And they made the people treat them like celebrities. The people love them. How did they do that? Through movies, television. And for example, you got Lucky Luciano, and you got what's his name, Rothstein. I gotta get his name right. Don't quote me on it. He was 3 gangsters back in the day that the Jews couldn't be a made man in the mafia, but they still was allies. And they allies today. The Romans, Catholic, and the Jews merged into each other in Spain in the Inquisitions. There was one part where they merged in. The Jews did the old switcheroo. All they had to do was say they weren't Jews, they were Catholics. And anyway, that's one example. We're going to give another one, but since election is coming up, 2020, people are trying to legislate morality. A lot of the problems that the United States and the whole planet have is they don't have no morals or righteousness in them. See, they keep forgetting about when God made man in his own image. he created the planets, and he created the universe, and all that's in it, and the earth, and all like that. He had laws. You have to create by formula, and formulas are laws, you know, and natural laws, you know, they call it natural laws, are the technology of the Most High. For example, giving birth or making babies. That's a natural law that according to their kind, all the creatures of Allah, that's how they work. That's how they roll. They're not even conscious of half of these natural laws. Through the powers and will of the Most High. But he also gives us freedom of choice. And so when corruption sits in a group of people and they infect the whole planet with their corruption, the whole planet don't realize that they corrupt sometimes. Sometimes they do, but they love it. They fall in love with corruption. We're going to talk about it on the next one. This is Black Light saying peace, power, and soul, baby.